This week on Vice, looting ancient artifacts in the Middle East.
This is the heritage of the world. We have to protect it.
Going to the tomb.
It is straight down. Jesus Christ.
Then, the business of being white in China.
I'm a businessman.
Why does a real estate company want to have a Western butler? It is almost as successful here in China as sex. Sex sells, right?
Sex and white people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm at Darshore, which is one of the sites that's been completely overrun by looters.
I'm a Scottish cymbal player in China. Big job I got because I'm white.
ISIS militants in Iraq and Syria have been destroying, and in some cases selling off, some of humanity's most priceless artifacts that chronicle the beginning of civilization. Sadly, those aren't the only countries facing an antiquities crisis. Since the Arab Spring and the turbulence that followed, Egypt has lost a devastating amount of its own artifacts to looting. Since 2011, billions of dollars worth of relics have been stolen from both museums and archaeological sites. So we sent Gianna Taboni to Egypt to find out exactly why we are pawning off our global heritage.
For being one of the 7 wonders of the world, it's pretty vacant. There are no tourists here. It's so empty. How has business been?
Where is the business? Where is the tourist?
Do you see many tourists around here?
No. 2-3 days, no customers. As you see around here, it's getting worse.
In fact, Egypt's annual tourism revenue is $5 billion lower than it was the year before the revolution. The reason is pretty simple. Many foreigners see it as too dangerous to visit. When the Arab Spring erupted in the Middle East 4 years ago, massive protests, public killings, and widespread violence destabilized the entire region and ended the 30-year rule of Egypt's president, Hosni Mubarak. The Muslim Brotherhood took power with the promise of democracy from their leader, President Mohamed Morsi. But after consistent protests over his controversial rule, the military took over, and they continue to rule the country today. Economist Samara Talla says the political turmoil has done significant damage to the economy.
Politics and economics are very closely related. The unrest that came with the revolutions obviously affected the economic activity to a halt. Consumers stopped consuming, investors actually pulled their money out of the economy, and there was a deep recession, rising levels of inequality, rising poverty. But most importantly, unemployment, the biggest impact of unemployment falls on the young population of the country.
If you're a young person and you lose your job, say in tourism, where do you turn?
Some of them might have an incentive to an illegal activity.
And one of the most widespread of these illegal activities, looting.
Is there a connection between economic decline and looting of antiquities?
Definitely, because antiquities is one of the most lucrative illegal activities you can find. And with the lack of security, then definitely there is an incentive for people to loot.
During the chaos and aftermath of the revolution, looters ransacked some of Egypt's most priceless museum collections. In the security vacuum that followed the revolution, looters went from stealing treasures in museums to raiding tombs that had been undisturbed for thousands of years. Illegal digging at many of Egypt's cultural heritage sites skyrocketed.
I'm at Darshore, which is one of the sites that's been completely overrun by looters since the revolution, and I'm here to meet Zahi Hawass. He's the former Minister of Antiquities, and he's going to take me inside that pyramid.
Dr. Hawass is Egypt's premier archaeologist, and was actually the head of the Ministry of Antiquities when the Arab Spring hit Egypt.
You're like Indiana Jones.
I am Indiana Jones.
How much more did looting increase after the revolution here in Darfur?
There is lots of looting happened after the revolution. One important thing that I need you to know. Modern Egypt is built above ancient Egypt, completely. Then if you have a house in a village, you can dig in the courtyard of your house and find antiquities.
Popular areas for looting are previously protected historical sites. Looters hope they contain more valuable antiquities, so they dig deep holes in search of undiscovered tombs.
You're going to see one of the illegal excavations that happened after the revolution.
Oh, wow.
This area contained tombs of the Middle Kingdom. In this area, many antiquities has been taken out of the country. This is the heritage of the world. We have to protect it.
There are holes every few steps here at this site, and if you look at the satellite images before the revolution, it's completely flat, there are hardly any holes. And then you see the image after the revolution, and the holes are everywhere.
Archaeologist Monica Hanna is one of the most vocal advocates for better protection at Egypt's heritage sites.
This was built in the Middle Kingdom by the great Ramses II.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
What kinds of things are the diggers finding
They're
here?
finding gold coins, regular coins, parchment, manuscripts.
How advanced are the methods of the looters that come here?
They have sonars. They usually come here with a bulldozer. We're walking here to the archaeological site of Abu Sir al-Malik. We have burials here from the pre-dynastic period up until the Islamic times. So it's a very important site, unfortunately completely raided. You see, all these are mummy wrappings. You can see here different tomb shafts.
Oh yeah, wow.
Unfortunately excavated by looters.
This is insane, there are bones everywhere.
They just tear apart mummy pieces in search for jewelries to sell, because within the mummy, with every wrapping, there used to be amulets and jewelry put.
When did most of these raids happen here?
They started right after the 25th of January revolution.
Every 20 feet you walk here, there's a new skull. It just shows like how much looting has happened here. I'm right outside Cairo, and we were able to track down a couple looters here who, at night, go to the Saqqara site, which is just a few hundred meters from here. Ahlan, اسمي Gianna.
أهلا محمد أحمد.
So why do you loot antiquities?
ليه؟ عشان عايزين فلوس. مفيش، هنشتغل إيه؟
الثورة أثرت على الناس كلها. أول حاجة مفيش شغل، تاني حاجة الحاجة غليت.
Do you feel at all guilty for what you do?
طبعا ممكن أنا بحس إن أنا أسرق تاريخ بلدي وأبيعه، بس أنا إن أنا أسرق عشان الأولاد ياكلوا. أعمل إيه؟
To understand more about how and why these guys run this underground trade, we got in touch with another group of looters outside Luxor, who agreed to take us to one of their dig sites.
We are going to the top, going to the tomb. We find a treasure.
Do you think before the revolution there would have been police blocking this off?
Yeah, police was focused in the things, but now they have other problems they have to focus about.
How long have you been digging at this site?
15 months like this.
This is insane. It's not even like there's a grade. It is straight down. Just you're holding it? That's it? There's no anchor?
Just back up.
Just back up. All right. Okay. Okay.
It's not just the drop that makes this dangerous for these guys. It's so difficult to breathe that you can only stay down there for 30 minutes.
This guy is just pounding this rock. He's trying to cut right through to a tomb, but he doesn't really know where the tomb is. So this guy's been here for over a year doing this.
While they didn't find anything that day, they've discovered numerous artifacts at this site and agreed to let us meet their boss, who sells them on the black market.
This is the Mr. Mayor.
Hello.
Mr. Mayor.
How are you?
Mr. Mayor agreed to show us one of the gang's recent findings.
تمثال لملكة دي لقيناها في الجبل في الغرب.
This was created probably over 1,000 years before Jesus was born. How much do you think you'll make for this?
دي بتطلع من بين 250 ل 280. الفحات بياخد من 25 ل 30 ألف، باخد من حسبة 70 ل 60. أما بتاع القاهرة بياخد طبعا يعدي 300 أو 400 لو الحاجة تستاهل. ماشي، بس أنا النقطة اللي هو الأمريكان إن هو بيشتريها بكام أنا ما أعرفش.
Egypt's Ministry of Antiquities tries to track down items that have been smuggled overseas and bring them back to Egypt. It's an uphill battle, to say the least.
So it's really just like 3 or 4 guys here who are in charge of repatriating $3 billion worth of antiquities. It's just them in this small office checking eBay and auction house websites. So what are these items here?
Some items says in USA.
Do you think this was stolen post-Arab Spring?
Yeah, for this one, 100% sure. صالة مزادات كريستي عرضت مجموعة من القطع الأثرية المصرية. كانت قطع مسروقة ومسجلة وعرضها للبيع، وكان يحاول أن يتغلب على فكرة سرقة القطعة بإرجاعها لتاريخ قديم. Another avenue to hide small pieces inside a replica. This one, we found these items hidden in his luggage. We found that he had a store. It looks like a museum.
Oh my God.
About 680 objects.
Just all of that's one man?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because much of the demand for these items comes from the United States, we met with a special agent from Homeland Security Investigations in New York to see some recently seized items.
This one had fake provenance attached to it and fake paperwork, and I think it was still going for upwards of $250,000. They will falsely declare the countries of origin, falsely declare the values. They'll falsely declare the descriptions, almost anything that you can imagine to put down wrong, to try and sneak by us. We were able to see pieces coming directly out of multiple countries, not just Egypt, but out of Libya, out of Syria, out of Iraq. And so when you have that many countries involved in a transnational criminal organization, you realize that this is a very big problem.
Though these criminal organizations span the Middle East, Syria has been one of the hardest hit. We spoke to Amer Al-Azam, a Syrian archaeologist who maintains a growing network of committed volunteers who investigate the destruction and protect what's left.
How big of an issue is looting in Syria as compared to Egypt?
The scale of destruction and looting that is occurring at the moment in Syria is unprecedented. The biggest exploiters of antiquities for profit are actually ISIS. They have experts, they have their own archaeologists, they have their own teams, and we're consistently hearing reports of objects showing up in sale rooms in London, in Paris, in the US. This cultural heritage is not just part of Syria's history. It's also part of our world history. We refer to these countries as Syria or Iraq or Egypt as cradles of civilization. It's part of essentially what defines who we are and how we got to where we are today.
As long as global demand continues to rise, ISIS and other criminal organizations will continue to profit by selling off our collective history.
China's economy is growing at an incredible rate. In fact, per capita GDP is up more than 3,500% since 1980. It's now the world's second largest economy and is projected by the World Bank to take over as #1 before 2030. But despite this rapid ascension to power, China and their new elites still prize Western culture, specifically white Western culture. So we sent Thomas Morton to get a first-hand look at this societal oddity that's taking place in modern-day China.
斯世界纪录的诞生，让合肥从此有了世界最大的鼓形建筑。那么，为了纪念这样一个辉煌的时刻，让我们一起来感受苏格兰大地的广袤与宁静。
Hi, it's Thomas. I'm a Scottish cymbal player in China. A job I got because I'm white. While Americans and white people more generally have kind of worn out our welcome in most of the world, there's one place left where it's desirable and even considered exotic to have whiteface, and that is here, the People's Republic of China.
White faces are such a hot commodity, there are entire Chinese modeling agencies dedicated to the foreign look, which in China means white. Because the demand for white so drastically outweighs the supply, they'll take anybody, at least for an interview.
Okay, so you're looking for modeling?
Yeah. What kind of work would be good for me?
Runway is a no.
No. Why is runway a no?
Catalog. Why runway is no? Really?
Well, why? Yeah.
You.
It's not
I'm
too
not
short?
trying to be mean.
So if runway is out, what are my other options?
You can do either the host for big events or promotion work.
That's a good place to start. What type of people do they usually ask for?
Most time they asking for Caucasian. There are probably around 40 agency do foreign models in Shanghai.
Despite me not being runway material, Ellie was still able to find me an impressive number of jobs in a day's notice. Over the course of 24 hours, I was a subway stop sales Martian.
Look how much fun it is to blink.
I hawked body-positive ladies' underwear at the Shanghai Fashion Expo.
Expo attendees will have a chance of winning a prize pair of panties worth between 80 and 100 kwai.
I emceed a runway show.
Welcome to the International Brands Catwalk.
And ended my night drinking and playing dice with some rich Chinese kids at a fancy nightclub that hires white foreigners to make them look cool and worldly. After work, I met up with some of my fellow whites to bitch about our jobs.
What kind of jobs can you get as a foreigner?
You could be a fake white anything, basically. That's the thing, really. This is great.
There's all sorts of masquerading as something you're not, you know, and it's not really a harmful thing. I look at it as marketing. China's trying to open up to the world, and they're trying to show people that we're glable players, you know.
Is it like an obsession with Western culture on that level? Because I understand from the business.
They don't really know much about the culture.
They just like the idea of like white culture.
Yeah, exactly. They're kind of like visually racist, so to speak. So they like you know, white features.
China's predilection for Caucasian features may be a boon to local expats, but not everyone is jazzed on the Aryan aesthetic. Huang Changyang is a reporter who did a big piece for the China Daily about where his countrymen's fixation with whiteface originally came from.
A lot of people think this way, I think, because of history. After 1949, during the Cultural Revolution, China was separated from the rest of the world. The Chinese tradition was totally destroyed, so we don't have anything that to cling on to sustain our national pride. In the early 1980s, when China opened its door, and suddenly we found that we had lagged so far behind the developed countries. So people resort to a blind worship of anything related to the Western world. Anything associated with the Western country, with the Western culture is considered superior. If that culture is superior, the white people must also be superior.
While the majority of expat foreigners live in what China calls its first-tier cities, like Beijing and Shanghai, it's in the second and third-tier cities that the superiority of white culture carries the most weight. Which makes sense when you consider that most people there's sole exposure to Western culture is through TV shows, like Downton Abbey.
So the prestige attached to Westerners kind of extends far beyond the business world into more general Western culture. And one of the things that has caught the eye of wealthy Chinese is the old craft of butler, or butling. Thomas, who's driving me, runs a branch of the International Butler Academy. He's agreed to let me train at the academy and take part in an event tonight.
Now you see, it's not in the center.
Tea, sir.
Still. We are getting there.
Despite the rigorous training, the market for white butlers is dominated not by nouveau riche Chinese with palatial, aristocratic-looking estates, but rather by real estate developers shilling pricey condos.
So what exactly do you guys do at the sales office?
Basically, they want us to stand here and look pretty and greet the guests. So pretty much all day long, they invite prospective tenants to come in.
At this point, I wasn't quite sure I was being used to suggest that these apartments come with their own white butler, or more as sort of a general visual prop to connote fanciness.
Why does a real estate company want to have a Western butler? It's show business.
Right.
They have a huge interest to sell these apartments for a very high price. A Western butler here in China is still a major selling. It is almost equally as successful here in China as sex.
Right?
Sex sells, right?
Sex and white people.
Sex and butler sell.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. While most of the white jobs I've done so far have been pretty upfront and on the level, there's a gray market for whites in China, where having a white face isn't just a marketing ploy, but a substitute for actual professional credentials.
So morning, we're in Yiwu, which is a manufacturing hub in China. There's a business fair here, and we've been hired as white people, and foreigners generally, to go there as interested investors. The truth is, we're all mostly just like people who've been paid a bunch of money and handed business cards with a fake company on them. Oh, here I am. Morton Thomas Wilson, director of ThomasTrade.com. All right. Time to be businessman.
Last week I was a Canadian named Paul. This week I'm a Filipino named Marcigan.
With new business identities in hand, we all herded into the trade hall to get businessing.
Thank you. So I've got to get these stamped.
Yeah. Just
Okay.
stamps. Yeah.
That's how I get paid?
It's like a scavenger hunt.
I get it, okay. And these are the price labels for the price machine?
Price label.
Okay, I could be very interested in that for my trading company. I could use this to cut my documents. I could use these to secure my cargo. I could use this to count my pills, my business pills. I'm a businessman. Business. Stamps, awesome. Got your card, be in touch.
Give you a gift.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Can't help but feel a little bit bad taking free stuff from these people under the promise that I'm gonna, land them some big like international trade deal. Wow, everybody from all over. So you guys are making really good contacts here.
Yeah. So where's your market?
Market's mostly Europe.
We should have some cooperation.
Okay, cool. It's sort of shitty for the vendors who've come here expecting to meet a bunch of white people, and then they're collecting business cards, and you flip through them, and you can very plainly tell some of them are fake. Thank you. Thank you. Let's talk. And you have my number. All right. Bye-bye. Thanks. Pretending to be a businessman was easy enough, but there are other professions, though, that are much more difficult to fake, that have, extensive specialized training, and which the government regulates the training thereof so that people don't fake it. Professions such as doctors.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Thomas Morton from New York City. I'd like to welcome to the stage my colleague, Dr. David Garner. David Garner is not a doctor. In fact, he's maybe the farthest thing from a doctor on Earth. An expat living in Beijing, David basically does whiteface jobs for a living. From innocuous gigs like catalog modeling and appearing in instructional phone apps, all the way to the big leagues, pretending to be a world-renowned medical physician for cash. In this case, a hospital in Zunyi has hired a broker to find them a real Western doctor to help unveil a new wing of their clinic. The broker, in turn, has hired David.
Morning, David.
Wow, you got the good suit.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm okay.
Good. I'm sorry, you're pantsless.
What's wrong with that?
Not
I've
much.
got my chonies on.
Oh, okay, we're cool then. I'm Thomas.
Thomas.
Great to meet you finally.
Good afternoon, sir.
Ooh, that's nice.
I slept with my flowers last night. I deflowered them.
You have an extra tie?
Oh, I do.
Anybody know how to tie these things?
I do.
Really?
Yeah. Do you know? Okay.
Oh, yes. There's her first assistant job.
Okay. Is this your first time doctoring?
No.
Oh, no?
No. You know, amazingly enough, last year I did one on the exact same topic.
Oh, yeah? What's your presentation on?
It is on the treatment and diagnosis of acute proctitis.
Oh, okay.
Prostatitis.
Prostatitis.
I should know
Oh,
that.
so.
Yeah. Should that be inside?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. Looks good. How much research do you usually do on this kind of stuff beforehand?
Oh, like none.
Does anybody ever try to test you on medical knowledge or anything like that?
No.
It just doesn't happen. So you've never been called out either.
No.
So you could easily make a living off this, just this. This isn't even just like supplementary.
Yeah, quite a few people that I know do that. Wow. Yeah, it's all they do. I mean, I literally get 2 or 3 job offers a day.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Do you ever feel bad on these jobs?
Bad? Like why?
Ethically?
If I...
Pretending to be a doctor, basically?
Oh, no.
No.
It's an acting job. Today I'm a doctor.
Hey.
So.
Thank you.
All right, what do we do? Look important.
All right.
David's extremely fictionalized medical resume was plastered on signs all around the hospital.
Where are all these pictures going? What a good facility you got. Good work with the erections. Hey, how are you? How are you? Good. A lot of fanfare over us white folks. I'm starting to get the feeling they just want us here for the pictures.
After one last photo op with the Mr. Wizard Ball, the conference began.
那么阴茎就会勃起。那么我们呢，这个开关呢是能开也能关。关呢，其实形象的讲呢是一种回流，啊，让这个泵呢它有个自主的泵回的作用，还有一个泵发的作用。
那个下面由我们美国弗吉尼亚大学医学院泌尿外科的副主任戴维金加纳先生。
Chronic prostatitis is the most common disease in urology. The symptoms seem to are difficult to nail down. So what we're doing is we're experimenting with different methods at diagnosis.
What's crazy, or even crazier than the fact that David, a regular dude from Beijing, is currently giving a lecture on prostatitis, taken from prostatitis Wikipedia page, is the fact that all day there have been real doctors in here giving presentations, and the room has been kind of half empty and mostly sleeping. Everybody came here to see the white doctor.
Okay, thank you very much.
谢谢。感谢这个张老先生给我们的精彩演讲，好吧？
It's a testament to the staying power of Western culture that we're still a marketable commodity, even in the biggest country on earth. But it's only a matter of time before the Chinese catch up with the rest of the world and realize that white people aren't the role models we've been sold as. Until then, though, white people here can basically get away with murder, or at least malpractice.